The Harper family's home was abuzz with the festive cheer of Christmas preparations. Sarah Harper, with her warm smile and artist's eye for detail, adorned every corner of the living room with holiday decor. Her husband, Michael, more practical but equally involved, tested the string lights, ensuring each bulb twinkled in harmony. Their children, Emily, a thoughtful 12-year-old with an insatiable curiosity, and Tommy, a boisterous 8-year-old with a mischievous streak, eagerly unpacked boxes of ornaments in anticipation of decorating the tree. As Sarah draped tinsel over the fireplace, Tommy delved deeper into a box labeled Grandma's Ornaments, a collection inherited from Sarah's mother. His small hands rummaged through the delicate glass baubles and handcrafted figurines until they felt something unusually heavy and cold. Curious, he pulled out an old bell, tarnished by time, its surface etched with intricate, archaic patterns. "Look what I've found!" Tommy exclaimed, holding up the bell for everyone to see. Sarah glanced over, her eyes lighting up with recognition. "Ah, the old bell. I remember Mom saying it was from our European ancestors. Supposed to be very old." Michael joined them, peering at the bell with a skeptical eye. "Looks like something out of a medieval tale," he joked. "Maybe it belonged to Krampus himself." "Who's Krampus?" Tommy asked, his eyes wide with intrigue. "An old legend," Michael chuckled. "He's like Santa's scary counterpart. Punishes the naughty kids while Santa rewards the good ones." Tommy's eyes sparkled with fascination, and without a second thought, he gave the bell a firm shake. It rang with a deep, resonant tone that seemed to linger in the air longer than expected. That night, after the children were tucked into bed and the house settled into a quiet lull, strange occurrences began. A cold draft meandered through the house, causing the Christmas lights to flicker and the festive candles to dance erratically. The Harpers, nestled in their beds, dismissed the draft as a quirk of their old home. In the days that followed, the oddities escalated subtly yet steadily. Sarah found doors ajar that she was certain she had closed. Michael heard faint whispers in the night, brushing them off as remnants of dreams. Emily noticed shadows that seemed to loiter a little too long, and Tommy, who kept the bell by his bedside, swore he heard it jingle softly in the stillness of the night. Despite these peculiarities, the Harpers continued their holiday routines, attributing the strangeness to the overactive imagination that often accompanied the festive season. Yet, each inadvertent ring of the bell by an unsuspecting Tommy seemed to amplify the mysterious happenings, slowly unraveling the fabric of normalcy in the Harper household. Unbeknownst to them, the bell was no ordinary trinket. It was a relic from a time and place where myth intertwined with reality, where the lines between legend and truth were blurred. And as the days inched closer to Christmas Eve, the Harpers would find themselves confronting more than just the stress of holiday preparations. They were to face the hidden truths within themselves, truths that the Krampus Bell was all too eager to expose. As December winds whispered through the bare branches outside, the Harper home, usually a haven of warmth and laughter, began to feel different, as if the walls themselves were steeped in a growing sense of unease. The disturbances, initially dismissed as mere oddities, grew more pronounced. The once comforting darkness of night now seemed to press against the windows with an almost palpable intensity. The house groaned and creaked more than usual, as if burdened by an unseen weight. Tommy, who had grown attached to the bell, rang it more frequently, each chime resonating through the house, leaving a lingering sense of foreboding in its wake. One evening, as the family gathered in the living room for their traditional hot cocoa and Christmas movie night, the television flickered erratically before shutting off completely. Michael's attempts to fix it were in vain. Frustrated, he blamed the old wiring, but Emily noticed the bell, now sitting on the mantelpiece, trembling ever so slightly. Later that night, as Sarah lay in bed, she was startled by the sound of whispering. She sat up, her eyes scanning the dark room, but found nothing. The whispers seemed to recede into the walls, leaving her to question whether she had heard them at all. The tension within the Harper household had been simmering for some time, rooted in more than just the usual stresses of daily life. Michael, once a successful businessman, had faced a series of financial setbacks. These troubles began with a few risky investments that didn't pay off, leading to a gradual but steady drain on the family's savings. The strain had started to show in Michael's demeanor. He was often preoccupied and distant, his mind burdened by the weight of his failing finances. One particularly tense evening, as the family argued over something trivial, the bell rang on its own, its sound cutting through the heated words like a knife. The room fell silent, and they all turned to look at the bell, now still and silent as if it had never rung. It was during a rare moment of family togetherness, while sorting through old boxes in the attic, that the true extent of Michael's financial misdeeds came to light. Hidden among forgotten keepsakes and family heirlooms, they found a box filled with old financial documents and letters from creditors. The discovery was accidental, but its impact was immediate and profound. The revelation hit the family like a shockwave. Sarah, who had always trusted Michael to manage their finances, felt a mix of betrayal and concern. Her once unwavering support for her husband wavered as she grappled with this new reality. The children, sensing the shift in their parents' relationship, reacted in their own ways. Emily withdrew into herself, her trust in her father shaken, while Tommy acted out, his behavior a mirror of the turmoil at home. The air in the house grew thick with unspoken accusations and simmering resentments, a tangible change that seemed to feed the bizarre occurrences that had become their new normal. The cold drafts felt colder, the shadows darker, and the whispers more insistent. It was Emily who first made the connection between the family's fraying bonds and the increasing paranormal activity. Her research into the bell's origins led her to the legend of Krampus, a creature that punished deceit and wrongdoing. She proposed a theory to her family. Their secrets and lies were somehow feeding the bell's power. At first, her family was skeptical, dismissing her ideas as the fanciful imaginings of a child. But as she laid out her findings, the pieces began to fit together too neatly to ignore. The bell wasn't just an heirloom. It was a catalyst, bringing their deepest fears and secrets to the surface. The family, now faced with the undeniable truth of their situation, knew they had to act. They agreed to confront their issues, to air their grievances, and seek forgiveness before Christmas Eve. But as they prepared to face their inner demons, the house seemed to pulse with a life of its own, groaning and whispering in the night, as if something malevolent lurked just beyond their sight, waiting for the bell to toll again. With December's chill deepening, the Harper family found their home transformed from a festive sanctuary into a theater of the uncanny. The once familiar rooms now harbored an air of silent accusation, as if the very walls whispered secrets and judgments. The mysterious bell's presence grew more ominous as the family confronted their inner demons. Its once simple chime now seemed to echo with a sinister resonance, marking the passage of time as Christmas Eve drew nearer. Michael, burdened by the revelation of his financial misdeeds, embarked on a path of atonement. His nights were consumed with poring over bank statements and overdue bills, his face etched with worry. The house seemed to mirror his turmoil, with shadows that stretched and twisted in the dim light, and cold drafts that appeared whenever he doubted his ability to restore his family's security. Sarah, having unveiled her battle with hidden anxieties, found solace in her family's newfound understanding. Her confession brought them closer, and for the first time, she didn't feel alone in her struggles. The house, however, responded differently. It creaked and groaned, as if adjusting to this new openness, and the light bulbs flickered whenever the tension in the air thickened. Tommy, realizing the impact of his misbehavior, pledged to seek his parents' attention in more positive ways. His promise was met with heartening support, but the house seemed less forgiving. The windows rattled when he expressed his regrets, and the bell would give a soft, almost mocking chime. Emily, who had felt overshadowed, found her voice. She spoke of her desire for acknowledgement and her fears of being lost in the shuffle of the family's troubles. Her parents listened, their eyes now open to her needs. In response, the house seemed to sigh, the air growing heavy as if laden with unspoken thoughts. The night before Christmas Eve, the Harpers gathered, the bell silent but ever watchful, They spoke heartfelt apologies, shared plans for change, and reaffirmed their love for each other. A temporary peace settled in the room, a brief respite from the lingering sense of dread. But as they retired to bed, tension enveloped the house. It groaned under the weight of expectation, the floorboards creaking as if bearing an unseen presence. The bell, still and silent, seemed to throb with anticipation. That night, their sleep was fitful, haunted by dreams of a dark, horned figure, its chains clinking ominously. They woke to Christmas Eve, each feeling a mix of hope and fear. The day passed in a blur, the normal joy of holiday preparations overshadowed by the impending night. Gone were the echoes of laughter and the warm glow of shared stories around the fire. In their place, an oppressive atmosphere of dread reigned, centered on the malevolent Krampus Bell, which sat ominously on the mantelpiece, its intricate engravings seeming to writhe in the flickering firelight. The Harper family, bound by a shared sense of impending doom, gathered in the living room, which was now more a stage for their reckoning than a haven of holiday cheer. Michael sat hunched, his once steady hands trembling as he grappled with the reality of his financial indiscretions and their dire consequences. Sarah, embodying a facade of strength, held Emily and Tommy close, her embrace a fortress against the unknown terror that lurked in the shadows. Emily, her youthful face etched with worry, gazed at the bell with an intensity born of both fear and guilt. Her mind raced with thoughts of the folklore she had unearthed, now wishing she could unlearn the tales that had brought them to this moment. Beside her, Tommy fidgeted, his young mind struggling to comprehend the gravity of their situation, yet acutely aware of the distress radiating from his family. As the clock chimed the arrival of midnight, the bell stirred to life, tolling with a sonorous, doom-laden ring that seemed to vibrate through their very bones. A chill descended upon the room, the kind of cold that seeps into one's soul, and with it came a creeping shadow that pooled in the far corner of the room. From within this darkness, the figure of Krampus emerged, its towering presence a nightmarish silhouette against the dimly lit backdrop. The creature's approach was slow, deliberate, each step resonating with the clinking of chains, its eyes, burning with an infernal fire, fixed upon the family. Michael, driven by a desperate paternal instinct, rose to his feet. His voice, strained with emotion, broke the silence. "Take me, but let them be," he implored, his plea echoing futilely in the room. Krampus, unswayed by his sacrifice, continued its advance, the malevolent glee in its eyes unmistakable. Sarah, tears streaming down her face, whispered words of love and comfort to Emily and Tommy, her voice a fragile thread in the overwhelming darkness. Emily, her eyes squeezed shut, found herself besieged by memories of laughter and love, a stark contrast to the present horror. Tommy, unable to bear the sight of the approaching demon, pressed his face against his mother, his small body shaking with fear. The creature extended its clawed hand towards the bell, and as its touch connected, the room was engulfed in a blinding radiance. A cacophony enveloped them, a melding of the bell's ominous tolling and the family's terrified screams, creating a symphony of despair. As the light receded and the din faded, the Harpers were no more. The living room, once a sanctuary of familial warmth, lay eerily silent, the Christmas tree's lights flickering as if mourning the loss. The Krampus Bell, now a shattered relic of its former self, lay discarded on the floor, its curse fulfilled. Outside, the world remained oblivious, blanketed in a serene layer of snow. Inside, the house stood as a hollow monument to the consequences of hidden transgressions. Meanwhile, in another unsuspecting home, the Krampus Bell awaited its next Christmas Eve, ready to exact its price on those harboring unspoken sins.